bhutale swayam rupa kada mahyam dadati swapadantikam vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Atmajam Vanarayotha Mukhyam Sri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami Pujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Abadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Sri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmaja Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam. So welcome back. We're going to continue Aranya Kanda, chapter 64 onwards. Where we left off is the waves of ecstasy of Sri Ramachandra in separation from Sita Devi, and his piteous, inconsolable crying and lamenting at her loss, and his loss of not knowing what happened to her. And he's considering that perhaps she's dead, or she's been kidnapped, or eaten by the Rakshasas in Dandaka. And Lakshmana, who's trying to console him, unfortunately fails. That even Lakshmana, with shoulders that are assured for success, means a very capable person, is incapable of consoling Sri Ramachandra. Chapter 64 opens with Sri Ramachandra feeling miserable and being in a very low condition. The word used is Dina. Wants to continue searching for Sita. And moves about the area. Then he tells Lakshmana, Lakshmana, can you go quickly to that area where she would often collect lotuses, to that pond, that area of water, and see if she is there? Perhaps she's gone there to collect some lotuses and hasn't come back. Then Lakshmana very quickly went in that direction and searched for her along the banks of the Godavari river. Could not find her. He returned and expressed to Ramachandra, I'm unable to find her. I looked and I loudly called out for her, but she didn't respond. So even if she were in a place where I could not find her, but hopefully my voice, and I was loudly calling out for her, there was no response back. So Lakshmana says, I don't know where the daughter of Janaka might have gone. Oh Ramachandra, I wonder, I'm unable to search for her. I'm unable to find her. Hearing Lakshmana's words were like daggers in Ramachandra's heart. Grief was increasing and increasing, and Ramachandra himself went to Godavari and loudly shouted, Sita, where are you? Where are you? And the river Godavari, who is actually supposed to be facilitating and serving the pastimes of Ramachandra and Sita Devi, did not respond back. Because Valmiki says she was afraid. She was afraid of Ravana. She was afraid what Ravana might do. And therefore, she kept quiet. although the other creatures in the area apparently were prompting to Godavari river to please say, tell him. But she did not say. In our life too, we find sometimes that some people hesitate to speak the truth because they are afraid of the consequences. They're afraid what might happen to them. And the persons who need that help become frustrated. So here Valmiki is saying that this is the nature of the persons that sometimes we feel could help us but are not helping us. Tatah prachodita bhuteshan asmaitan priyatmani. Even they knew, but they were prompting, they were nudging Godavari river, say something, but she wouldn't. Because Godavari witnessed what Ravana did to Sita Devi. And Valmiki says, Pura, what happened previously? So the specifics are not there, what happened previously. So we understand a couple of things. One, previously means when Sita was being abducted, Ravana, Godavari saw the might of Ravana. And that might was scary. And she was scared for her own safety. And so out of fear, she did not reveal to Sri Ramachandra. Disappointed by the river Godavari and not able to see Sita Devi, Ramachandra said to Lakshmana, "Oh Lakshmana, see this Godavari? She does not respond to me. How can I go back to Janaka and to my own mother Kausalya without Sita and give this bad news? I don't think I can face them. Where could she have gone? This Sita was the cause of all of my sorrows to go away. Means Sita made me very happy. So when I lost my kingdom, because she was with me, I had no sense of sorrow at all. And this Sita survived on food from the forest, some berries, some roots, and some tubers from the ground, although she lived like a princess and a queen, both in Videha kingdom and in Ayodhya. She left all her relatives, friends, her sisters, and I cannot sleep anymore because thinking of her. And each of these nights seem very, very long. Generally, when we fall asleep, we have deep sleep, the night is very short. And when we cannot sleep, the night is very, very long. So Ramachandra says, I will roam around this Godavari river, Janasthan, and this Mount Prashavana till I find Sita. Then, interestingly, Ramachandra looks at Lakshmana and says, you see these deer? They're looking at me again and again because deer have very, very big eyes. Sometimes the eyes of beautiful women or women with beautiful eyes are compared to eyes of a doe or a fawn, we say mrigakshi, because the eyes of the doe are always restless, but they're also very, very big and round, so very beautiful. So when these deer were staring at Ramachandra again and again, Ramachandra says, I think the deer want to tell us something. But Ramachandra said, I cannot read what the deer are saying because my eyes are filled with tears. I'm unable to read properly. Look at them. And then he asked the deer, where is Sita? Please, where is Sita? As soon as Ramachandra asked the deer, where is Sita? The deer who was there suddenly turned and jumped high up and landed in the southerly direction. Now one may say, do the deer have compass? The answer is absolutely yes. They don't walk around with a compass, but they know directions very well. So the deer looked at Ramachandra, turned, jumped, and moved in the southern direction. And they did it again and again to show him. They would come back, look at him, jump up, and again go in the southern direction. So then Ramachandra said, something, they're telling me something. Uh, then Lakshmana, who's also an expert, studied what the deer were saying and by his own intelligence, and he said to Ramachandra, these deer are indicating something for us to go in the southern direction. So let's go, going southwest, we'll turn towards the south. Maybe we'll find some clue there. So Ramachandra became suddenly very hopeful and he said, yes, yes, Lakshmana, let's go in the southern direction, carefully looking. And as he was going, Lakshmana was following. Then they came about a place where they saw flowers strewn on the floor, on the ground. When Ramachandra saw these flowers on the ground, he became hopeful and dejected at the same time because he recognized the flowers, that these are the flowers Sita would wear. But he's dejected that why are they on the ground? Then he says, oh, I am so grateful to the sun, the wind, and earth for preserving these flowers as if they are showing me a favor. Manye surashcha vayushcha medinishcha yashashvini. Medini means earth. Abhirakshanti pushpani prakurvanto mama priyam. They are being very kind to me. As a human being, we live a life of gratitude that every circumstance in our life, somehow or the other, we find excuses to thank someone else or some other entity for being kind to us and merciful to us. Every circumstance. Although there may be or may not be a direct connection, but the heart of a grateful person is such that every circumstance they see as a gesture of mercy from someone. So he's saying the Surya, Vayu, and the earth have preserved these flowers because Surya Dev, by his heat, can wither the flowers that we may not be able to recognize. Wind could have blown them away, or the earth could have rotted them and mixed into the earth, so we wouldn't be able to find out. Having said this, Ramachandra then asked Mount Prasavana, I see these flowers. O King of Mountains, have you seen beautiful Sita Devi, who's separated from me? Have you seen her in this forested area? And the mountain did not respond. And Ramachandra became very upset. And he said, oh mountain, you better answer me right now. Otherwise, I will destroy you and make you nothing but a lump of ash. All your beautiful slopes with water streams and trees and flowers and fruits will all be gone in a moment. And when he said something loudly like that, the mountain echoed his words back. And he said, where is Sita? The echo came back. Where is Sita? Where is Sita? As if the mountain was responding, but did not show any indication of where Sita was. Then Ramachandra's anger increased that I, the son of Dasharatha, will reduce you to a pile of ash if you don't tell me. Then he looked at the river and he said, river, tell me where Sita is. Otherwise, I will immediately dry you up. You will not exist. And with this anger, his eyes coppery red, when he was looking around, he saw footprints of a very large demon. And he also saw footprints of Sita Devi. And they looked as if the demon was chasing Sita. And it seemed the footsteps were not organized, they were scattered here and there. So it showed that Sita was fighting him or running here and there to protect herself. Then Ramachandra was a little bewildered because he saw a broken bow, a quiver, and many arrows splintered here and there. There was a chariot that was completely broken. Then Ramachandra shows Lakshmana, oh, Saumitri, Lakshmana, see, broken bits of gold ornaments and garlands. I see big drops of blood here and gold spread here and there. Oh, looks like Sita Devi was tattered to pieces and eaten up by demons because they can consume any human being and they can take on any form. So it seems like, Lakshmana, there were two demons who fought here, a very strong battle. And maybe they were fighting or contesting who will get Sita. She is mine. No, she is mine. Let's fight. And that's how they fought. It seemed like two massive demons fought here. And then he says, Lakshmana, look, there's this huge bow, which is of a powerful warrior. It is embedded with pearls and gems, and it is completely gilded, and it's fallen on the ground here. I see a shield that is so powerful, studded with Vaidurya gems, but it's all broken, and it is shining like molten gold here. There is an umbrella that is usually fitted to a chariot that is 100 spokes to that umbrella, and that umbrella is completely tattered and broken. Great flowers are strewn here and there. I see dead donkeys. And these donkeys are not just the donkeys that we see in India, little tiny puny ones. These are massive donkeys, very powerful. And their chests are adorned with golden armors and plates. I see those plates completely shattered, broken, and the donkeys dead and fallen. Look at the faces of these donkeys. They are like a devil's face, but they are killed here. So whose chariot is this? This is shining like fire. And this is all upside down and broken. I see arrows whose points have been broken. And the chariot, its axle is so big. This means it's not some ordinary person's chariot. It must be a very big, massive Rakshasa. Look, I see two quivers full of arrows lying shattered. And the chariot driver is dead. But in his hands, the reins of the donkeys are still there. He's dead like that. Who might have killed him? I see helmets, earrings, very costly ornate jewelry fallen on the ground here. And I see that this must be the path this demon has taken. Lakshmana, when I say this, my anger towards this demon has increased 100-fold. I promise you, I will finish this demon. And these demons, Lakshmana, can change their form at will. I am very sure whether they have eaten or abducted Sita. Even Sita's own dharma, it seems, could not have protected her. Na dharmas trayate sitan kriyamanan mahavane. In this great forest, Sita's own dharma. Generally, we say dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. That one who protects dharma, dharma in turn protects them under all circumstances. So Ramachandra is lamenting that Sita, who's such a dharmic woman, her own dharma seems like did not come to her protection at this point. And if Sita has been devoured or kidnapped, Lakshmana, nobody in this world can make me happy. Even Lord Brahma. Okay? Even Lord Brahma, if he comes. How can Lord Brahma be so heartless? Right? Even if someone does something, shouldn't he be merciful? I am worried that if I don't do something about it, even the gods might consider me as weak. So here's a warning that Ramachandra gives, that there are this idea of uh, weak forgiveness, if you will, is there in a very, very strong person and in a very weak person. Both are very forgiving. The weak person forgives because they are unable to do something about it. So they say, no, no, it's okay, don't worry, and they go away. It's easier for the weak to forgive because they don't have the strength to face up to whoever is bullying them or attacking them. Even the strong can forgive. And the strong who forgive is out of their strength, that they can crush the other person, but they don't. And it's not so easy to distinguish either one's strength or weakness just by looking at forgiveness on its own. So sometimes when a person is forgiving, then the other person or other persons think of it as weakness. Oh, this is not so strong. Actually, it's not their weakness, it is their strength, but it is their choice. Here, Ramachandra is speaking that the gods may think that because I'm not doing something, that I'm weak, but I'm not. Then Ramachandra says, Lakshmana, I'm the kind of person that even if someone comes to me who's actually a person without character, just by contact with me, their character becomes uplifted. Just as the sun, when it comes into the sky, it dulls all the other luminaries, the moon and the stars, because the sun's brightness eclipses everyone else's brightness. O Lakshmana, the yakshas, rakshasas, goblins, or we say Gandharvas, yakshas, rakshasas, kinnaras, anybody's, devatas, nobody will be peaceful now that my anger is becoming even more pronounced and increased. When I fire my arrows into the sky, I will make the movements of all the planets stop. They will not move. Now, we may wonder why Ramachandra is speaking like this. But he's not speaking anything that is improper or untrue. We hear from the Vedic statements that the sun, the moon, and the wind moves in the universe out of fear of the Supreme Lord. So when he says stop, they all have to stop. In the Mahabharata, the power that Krishna shows in the killing of Jayadratha is when Arjuna had promised that by sunset, I will kill Jayadratha. And if I don't kill Jayadratha, I will enter fire and kill myself. So the Kaurava army put Duryodhana, Bhishma, Dronacharya in the front of the army that was facing off Arjuna, and Jayadratha at the end of their army with 11 Akshauhinis in between. And that 11 Akshauhinis was 16 miles long. So when the day started, Arjuna had to fight Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana and other great warriors and go through the army for 16 miles to find Jayadratha. It was not easy. It was getting difficult as the day was progressing because the whole strategy was, let's protect Jayadratha. And the sun had set, and Jayadratha was still alive. So Arjuna became very, very morose, looked at Krishna, asked for a huge fire to be started. So everyone came to see whether Arjuna would actually fulfill his promise. Because if Arjuna dies, Mahabharata battle is almost finished. The Kauravas will be victorious. Foolish Jayadratha pushed everyone because he wanted to see Arjuna die, came and stood in front row and wanted to see. Krishna turned to Arjuna. Arjuna was looking at Jayadratha and he turned to Krishna that, Krishna, I thought you are Achyuta, that you will never fail me. Krishna smiled, told Arjuna, pick up your weapons, Arjuna, and shoot your arrow on Jayadratha. So Arjuna was a little confused. And as soon as Krishna spoke, the sky became bright, the sun was shining like anything, and the sun had not set. It was Krishna's illusion, Maya. And immediately Arjuna finished Jayadratha. So by the Supreme Lord's power, all the planets can stop moving if they have to. They follow his order. However, in Ramachandra's case, this is a commentary by Tilaka, who narrates that Ramachandra has his divine side and the human side. And in this avatar, almost all of the time, his human side is what is being shown. Very rarely does his divine side manifest. But because of the ecstasy of separation, his entire divine side is being manifest. And Lakshmana has to now intervene to curb that, to say, no, 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 this is not the time or the place or the circumstance to manifest your divinity. It has to be your human side only. Because with your human side only is Ravana going to die. Because the moment Ramachandra announces and all the planets are afraid, then Ravana will get an indication. Ramachandra is not a human being. And Ravana, because Ramachandra wants to preserve Lord Brahma's boon, the avatar will not be successful. Of course, there's nothing in terms of failure for the Lord, but the purpose would not be fulfilled. So Ramachandra's anger is that ecstasy as the Supreme Lord. He says, Lakshmana, all the beasts and birds and everybody here will be scorched by the fire of my anger, because the demigods are not doing what they need to do right now. I will completely render this entire earth free of any living beings, moving and non-moving, because it is the Rudra Swarupa. Near the devastation of the creation, the heat is increased such that all living beings that are embodied are completely annihilated. And everything is washed away and creation starts again. So this is that Rudra Swarupa. Part of the, from a rasa perspective, Shringara rasa, out of separation, in the rasa of Madhurya, Raudra sometimes cannot mix. But this Raudra is not about Sita Devi. It is in Dasya, because they're all his servants. The Supreme Lord can show anger on the demigods. It's part of something that is a natural mixture. And he says, if the demigods don't hand over Sita to me right now, however, whatever condition she is in, even if she's dead, I want to see the dead body. If she's been taken away by someone, I want to see Sita right now. If they don't, then The demigods will not be able to withstand my fury. I will destroy all the three worlds right now. When Ramachandra spoke like that, Lakshmana became completely uh, disturbed and scared, like, oh my gosh, this Ramachandra is in a very fiery mood because of the separation from him. Then Lakshmana had to step in and he said, Sri Ramachandra, earlier you were very, very gentle. Purva Bhutva Mridura Danta Sarvabhuta Hiterata. Previously, you were Mridu, very, very gentle. Dantaha, self restrained. And Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha, you were fixed in benefiting all living beings. न क्रोधव न क्रोधवशम न क्रोधवश आपन्नः प्रकृतिं हातुमर्हसि. Please don't become angry and don't show your anger on this creation. You're always gentle like the moon. Therefore, your name is Ramachandra. Chandre Lakshmi Prabha. Surye Gatir Vayu Bhuvikshama. This is a very, very beautiful verse. Chandre Lakshmi Prabha Surye Gatir Vayu Bhuvikshama. Etatu Niyatan Sarvan Tvai Chanumatan Yashaha. He says, in you, these four qualities are always present. Chandre Lakshmi, just as the moon's calming, soothing quality is there, in you, that quality is there. You're always calming and soothing to anybody who comes to you. Prabha Surya, you are effulgent and you show, you give knowledge, you give direction, you give enlightenment to anybody who comes to you. Gatir Vayu, you have the speed and strength of wind. And Bhuvi Kshama, you have the tolerance of Mother Earth in you. This is your reputation and glory, that you are the personification of these qualities. So destroy this entire creation because of one person, somebody who abducted. I don't think that's a good idea. This is like killing this is my analogy. This is like killing a fly with a cannonball. Your anger is very, very big on this one. Let's look. You see the hooves of horses, the rims of chariots, all soaked in blood. It seems like there was a very, very horrible fight here. And Sri Ramachandra, I see that the fight was not just one, there were two here. But I don't see a big army. Only two sets of footprints, actually three. But when he's talking of two, he's talking about the two very gigantic beings that fought. So he's saying to destroy the entire world is not right. Please remain gentle, peaceful, and you may want to punish only the deserving. Ultimately, you are the resort, you are the shelter for all living beings, Sri Ramachandra. Who would be foolish to abduct your life? Here is the phrase Lakshmana uses for Ramachandra. Sada means always, Tvan, in you, Sarvabhutanam Sharanyah Paramagatihi. All living beings eternally find shelter in you. Then he says, just as those who are very pious don't do anything disagreeable or angry towards those who observe dharmic rules, rivers, seas, mountains, gods, Gandharvas, etc., they are not capable of causing you distress or happiness because they know that they will always follow you. You are dharmachari, they are also dharmachari. And Lakshmana says a few things, but I want to add a commentary that Lakshmana, uh, in the mood of Lord Nityananda, is stopping Lord Chaitanya, who was ready to punish Jagai and Madhai. Because Lord Nityananda's plea to Lord Chaitanya was, "Oh Mahaprabhu, if you start killing Jagai and Madhai, you would have to kill the entire universe because it is filled with Jagais and Madhais. Then how is it possible?" And then he held Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet and he said, "Please show them your mercy. Please. Because these living entities deserve your compassionate glance, not your fiery view." So thanks to Lakshmana, and he's stepping in to pacify Sri Ramachandra, but this universe is still there and not burnt away. And then Lakshmana continues to uh, describe this scene. He says, "Let's take, I'm here, let's ask the great sages who are also living in these areas, and let's search for Sita Devi. Let's search the oceans, the mountains, forests, caves, rivers, lotus ponds, wherever we can search. We'll search relentlessly for her. In fact, we will even, if necessary, go to Swargaloka to search for her." O Sri Ramachandra, if you propitiate the gods, if you seek their help, and if after all of your requests they don't help you, then you can take a very strong action at that time. Right now, first step is not that. Let's uh, try other means, uh, by humility, by trying to reconcile. Let's try that. So Lakshmana is giving us the indicator because he is guru. He is giving instructions, not to Ramachandra, but to us. He says to Ramachandra, or the verse here Valmiki writes is, "Shilena samna vinayena sitan nayena na prapsyasi chenanendra na prapsyasi chet narendra tata samyudasaya hema punkair mahendra vajja pratima shaughay." He says, first, Shilena. Shila means good behavior, cultured. Let's ask the demigods in a cultured way, meaning, "Hey, please, I need your help." Samna, with a sense of appeasing them. Then he says, Vinayena, with humility. Sita Nayena, let's ask. If that doesn't happen, then you can mount golden feathered arrows to your bow and finish them off. What he's saying is, please take the role of a human being. Don't manifest your divine supreme powers just yet. Then Lakshmana tells Ramachandra, he's continuing to console him. He says, "Oh, Ramachandra, just consider that Dasharath Maharaj had gotten you after a very, very long stretch of yajnas and penance. Just the way the demigods got nectar after a lot of churning and effort and yajna, a lot of austerities. And Dasharatha became very famous, not on his own, but by your grace. When you were born to him, Dasharatha became even more famous. And by you, uh, he went to the higher worlds. It was your grace by which he went to the higher worlds. If you cannot somehow bear the sorrow, can you please tell me how weak people can ever bear? If the strong persons cannot show compassion, if strong persons cannot show forbearance and tolerance, how will the weak people follow? Oh, best of human beings. Again, he's constantly calling him human being so that Ramachandra's mood will shift. Oh, best of the human beings, if you grieve and you burn this entire world with your brilliance, then ordinary people who want relief, how will they get it? Hmm? And as far as the world is concerned, this is how the world is created. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. Lokasvabhava evaisha. This is just the nature of the world. Even Yayati, the great son of Nahusha, got Indra's palace, sat and shared the throne with Indra, but had a curse because of bad conduct and immediately fell from that position. Sage Vasishtha, our own Guru, such a great person. To him, 100 sons were born in one day, and all of them died in one day by Vishwamitra's curse. You, Ramachandra, the Mother Earth is like you, unshakable, very, very tolerant. Yet the earth shakes sometimes as earthquakes, as volcanoes, you will see. So even such great persons in life, you will see difficulties and good and bad is a good mixture of it. Even the sun and the moon, which are supposed to be the eyes of the Supreme, and they see everything that is happening in this world. Even those great persons are eclipsed. So even the point is making is even the greatest of persons are not free of distresses, are not free of difficulties, are not free of calamities. Then what to speak of ordinary people? Therefore, fate or providence does not spare anybody. Great creatures, great personalities, even the demigods are not spared. He says even Indra, even the great deities that are ruling the universe are also treated to the power of justice. Something goes wrong, they do something wrong, they are punished by Kala, by justice. So even if Sita is unfortunately abducted or killed, please don't grieve like this right now. Let's go and search for her. Great people like you, not like you, great people face difficulty. So let's not lose heart. Rama, you, and then Lakshmana, very, very amazingly. And he said, good results cannot be distinguished so easily between what comes. Let me read the Sanskrit. He says, a person who cannot distinguish between what is dharma and adharma, for such a person, good results will never come in their life. Because they are very unstable in their behaviors. They're very unstable in their character. And then immediately Lakshmana with folded hands said, Ramachandra, I am not instructing you. This is what you had instructed me previously. Tvam eva hi pura Rama mam evan bahusho anvasha. Who can advise you on these matters? Who am I to advise you? You are indeed like Brihaspati, meaning even Brihaspati cannot advise you because you are more intelligent than Brihaspati. But I'm just repeating what you had told me. Oh Mahapragya, even the greatest of intelligent beings in the universe, take whoever, they may be however, including Lord Brahma, they cannot fathom your intellect. I am only trying to rouse in you your wisdom, okay, so that your sorrow can fade away. O greatest bull among men, Vrishabha, he says, your way, your divine and human prowess. So remember, he's trying to curb Ramachandra's divine nature and allow for the human nature, because only a human being has to follow a certain path to get to Ravana. So he says, Divyancha Manushancha Tvam Atmanascha Parakramam Ikshvakur Rishabha Ikshaya Yatasva Dvishatan Vadhe. Before you kill your enemies, Dvishatan Vadhe, before you do that, please carefully consider your Divyan Cha Manushan Atmana. Please don't take on the role of the Supreme Personality right now. That's not what is required. What is required is your human side. And with that ends chapter 66. I will stop here and see if there are any questions or comments in the next chapter. We will meet, we will witness and Lakshmana meeting Jatayu. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Haribol.
Thank you for the wonderful class. The two massive pairs of footprints that you were talking about, was it obvious by the footprints that one of the pair belonged to Jatayu or a bird?
It's not been described. What Lakshmana and Ramachandra say is it could be these demons who can take on forms by their desire. So they haven't yet discerned that it is Jatayu's footprint.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You guys liked Lakshmana's instructions about not instructions, but his appeasing Sri Ramachandra, the qualities of this moon, sun, wind, and earth in him, and also how he's telling human beings should conduct themselves in the midst of challenges and calamities. Before they exhibit anger and a strong sense of get back, there are ways to address certain things. I found them very instructive for myself. Any comments or thoughts? If not, don't worry, I will not be offended.
I have one more if no one wants to ask.
Go ahead.
Prabhuji, now that you're saying that in this situation, Lakshmana is trying to, I wouldn't say instruct, but kind of remind Lord Ramachandra about his position or what he is supposed to do. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this point where Lakshmana is instructing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not instructing, it's like telling the Supreme Personality of Godhead the right path. We also see that when Ishwarapuri was in going through the pangs of separation, one of his disciples, I forget his name, he told him, what to do or not to do, and which was considered very offensive. Ishwarpuri chastised him. How do we reconcile with these two scenarios?
Okay, the two are diametrically opposite. So here's the very first verse of chapter 67. Valmiki says, Purvajo api matrastu Lakshmanena shubhashitam Saragrahi mahasaran pratijagraha raghava. So, first of all, Ramachandra is called Saragrahi, one who can catch the essence of what is said. So, he's not only picking up the message, he's also picking up the mood. Saragrahi. Mahasaran. Mahasaran, the great essence that Lakshmana spoke. Lakshmanena Shubhashitam. Subhashita. Bhashita means spoken. Subhashita is spoken very nicely. Lakshmanena. Who is Lakshmana? Younger. So he says, Purvajo api uktamatras. Although the older has been spoken to, Ramachandra, who's Saragrahi, picked it up. So, first of all, there's no offense at all. Lakshmana is very, very amazing. Second, in the case of Ishwarapuri, not Ishwarapuri, it was um, Ishwarapuri's spiritual master is
Madhavendra Puri.
Madhavendra Puri, thank you. When Madhavendra Puri was in severe ecstasy of separation, Ramachandra Puri, instead of understanding his guru's mood, instructed him that you should meditate on Brahman. That's an offense. Here, he is facilitating Lakshmana is facilitating the humanness of Ramachandra so that they can get to Ravana. Okay. Then, from a worldly perspective, this is what I appreciate. Sometimes Ramachandra and Lakshmana, they represent the heart and the head of a person, or to say it differently, the emotional and the rational aspects of a person. They just manifest in two different. Lakshmana is a very emotional person, by the way. Emotional when it comes to his service to Sita and Ramachandra. Otherwise, very rational person. Ramachandra represents the emotional, the feelings in terms of one's elevation in the path of bhakti. So we all have a struggle or a tug of war between our emotional side and our rational side. In the path of bhakti, both are required. Therefore, Rama and Lakshmana are in the forest. However, the Ramachandra is the older or superior one. Because as our bhakti develops, we go from rules and regulations and the rationality of it towards the spontaneity of it. Spontaneity is all about emotions and spiritually speaking. Okay, we're not talking emotional like, emotional persons who don't know how to handle their mind. Not that. So please, I'm speaking very strictly within the boundaries of pure devotional service. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti gives rise to raganuga bhakti and bhava. In bhava, if we read Rupa Goswami's teachings, it's far beyond rules and regulations. Rules and regulations are very rational. Oh, I shouldn't touch this. Oh, I shouldn't eat that. Oh, I shouldn't be like. But in bhava bhakti, in prema bhakti, when Narada asked the gopis, can you give me some foot dust from you? Because Krishna wants to rub it on his forehead for a headache, for being relieved of headache. Others who were all into rules and regulations said, oh, no. The gopi said, please take as much as you want. because relieving Krishna of his headache is more important. Or one of my pastimes that are very dear to me is in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's case. He was lying down in the Gambhira, and Govinda came to massage his feet in the afternoon after lunch. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was lying down right next to the door, ordinarily, you don't cross over a alive person. You only cross over a dead body. But Govinda crossed over and continued massaging Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet for an hour or a couple of hours. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awakened from his afternoon rest, he looked at Govinda, who was sitting here, and said, Govinda, have you had lunch? No, Mahaprabhu, I haven't had lunch. He said, it's so late in the day. Why not? Why didn't you have lunch? He said, well, you're lying down here. How can I cross over and go and have my lunch? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very intelligent, said, but how did you cross over? How did you get into the room in the first place? On this side. He said, I crossed over you and came. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, well, if you crossed over from there to here, you can always cross over from here to there. And Govinda said, no. For my service, I crossed over. But for my own gratification, I cannot break a rule. This is that very, very delicate, but very, very instructive pastime. Similarly, Ramachandra and Lakshmana are showing us that there is the emotional side, there is the rational side. I shouldn't say emotional, there is the affective, that's the right word, affective side and the rational side. And as devotees, we want our affective side to develop and rule over or become the older brother of the rational side. That's what we want. But that doesn't mean the rational side goes away. From time to time, it will tell us what is required. So in all of us, the both sides are there. And therefore, there is no offense in what Lakshmana is saying. And he's careful too. I'm not telling you, this is what I've heard from you. Okay, Kirti?
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Another aspect. Within Sakhya Rasa, there are elements of Vatsalya. If you read Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion, not if you read, I'm sorry. When we read, we understand that within Sakhya Ras, Vatsalya is also there. Some little bit is there. And therefore, Lakshmana, although younger brother, plays sometimes the role like a father. Therefore, Ramachandra said, when he built this beautiful house, Bhavagrena Kritagyena Dhimata, you have done something that you're taking care of me like Dasharatha would take care. So in Sakhya, little elements of Vatsalya is also there. Vatsalya means taking care of, being the well-wisher. That's what friendship is. Sakhya Ras, Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, Sakhya Ras means always friendship means holding the best interest of our friend in our heart, Sri Krishna. We also take care of our deity, not we as I, but we as devotees. I don't know how to take care of my deity so well, but in general, we say, oh, the room is cold. Let me turn on the heater or put a woolen chadar on the deity. The milk is hot. Let it become warm enough in a way that it is easy to drink and not scalding to the palate. This is all features of Sakhya and Vatsalya in it. Although we're following rules, right? It's there. Although we act as the well-wisher of the Supreme. Of course, he's the well-wisher of everyone. Is that okay for you, Kirti, in different ways to appreciate what Lakshmana is saying?
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hari Bol.
Just a comment here, Prabhu. Today, in today's class, you brought various aspects of how Lakshmana was trying to make Lord Ramachandra come back to the stage of not being the Supreme Lord, but instead Atmana Manusha Manye, that he should act as a human being here. And the, I mean, one takeaway for me here was the wonderful ways in which you brought out the verses and how it can apply in our lives. Thank you for being an ardent worshipper so that the Supreme Lord can bless you with these realizations and help us appreciate. Thank you.
Krishna, Krishna. I mean, thank you. Thank you for your encouragement. One who drinks a quarter teaspoon of ocean water is not, what's his name, Agastya Muni. You only get a sense of that the ocean is salty. That's about it. So there's a long way to go. Long, long way to go. This lifetime is not enough. Thank you. Thank you for encouraging me. You're no less. In Ramayana, you're the authority in terms of finding stuff and responding to different nuances. I get great inspiration from you too. Okay, any final comments, thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam.
Hey, Haribol.
Prabhuji, I mean, as you said, so there are two aspects. One is the divine, and the other one is the emotional aspect. So, in case of Lord
Hold on.
Ramachandra,
Not divine and emotional. Divine
human,
and
sorry,
human.
yes, and human. So Prabhuji, I mean, I was just trying to remember that where did Lord Ramchandra showed his divine aspect, like breaking Lord Shiva's bow, or like where actually he showed that divine aspect.
He was
Usually he
expert.
in
He was expert that everything is hidden. Only few places he reveals it. One place is when he comes into Dandakaranya forest. All the sages come running and he says, I have come to the forest only for you. Although he only takes their association and learns from them, in that he's telling them that for thousands of years you've been praying, I've come to give my association to you. Paritranaya sadhuna. So the statement is a revelation that I have come for you. That's one area. Another area is coming up in the next few chapters. He tells Jatayu, right now, go to the ultimate destination where the great devotees go, to Vaikuntha Loka. The question that is raised by commentators is there any human being who has the ability to tell someone, go to Vaikuntha right now? Absolutely not. But he did. How can he say, is he arrogant? Is he so self-righteous that he can? No. That is the little, his heart is flooded with such gratitude that he breaks character and says, Jatayu. I mean, a vulture going to Vaikuntha is unheard of. But that's what Ramachandra did. That's another instance. Then there are, when Hanumanji meets Ramachandra for the first time, he asks them some questions. Those are all statements of Rig, Sam, and Yajur Vedas. And that is for Ramachandra turns to Lakshmana and says, oh, he's speaking very, very nicely because he's very learned in the Rig, Sam, and Yajur Vedas. Ordinarily, it seems like a human conversation, but it is not. In fact, we don't have the time for it, but the one shloka Hanuman speaks where Valmiki says is Bahave, many arms. So generally in Sanskrit you have singular dual, and plural. Bahu is one, Baho is two, and Bahavaha means many arms. So generally, I mean, human beings only have two arms. So Hanuman should have said something, and yes, Hanuman is an expert in grammar. Not one time he has read grammar, but he has learned 9 types of grammars. Nava Vyakarana Pandita. But he, instead of saying Tvam Baho, he says Bahavaha. I see many arms, which means to Hanuman, the commentators say, Hanuman saw the four-armed feature of both Rama and Lakshmana. But the verse is hidden in such a way that Rama and Lakshmana together have 4 arms, so Bahavaha makes sense. Like that. That's enough for today. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. We'll end here until we meet again next week. Thank you very much. Please continue to inspire me. I am very grateful to all of you. And we pray that Supreme Lord, Sri Ramachandra, who is calming and soothing like the moon, enlightening like the sun, powerful and moving, and can move our obstacles away, like the wind can blow them away, that he remove our obstacles on the path of trying to reach him or reach his devotees, more importantly. And finally, as we bungle up and trip and fall and make mistakes in our service to him and his devotees by our body, our very bad, harsh words and really offensive thoughts, that he, like Mother Earth, be tolerant and forgive us so that we can slowly be pulled towards his lotus feet. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanumanji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.